If you're a cricket player who goes to the gym but isn't sure what they should be doing, then this video is for you. Here are 6 strength exercises that you can do in one single session with a full body focus to improve your game. Exercise number 1 that we're going to do is a single leg squat. So for a single leg squat, what I'd recommend you have is some form of bench or a box. And then all we're going to do, I'd also recommend doing any single leg exercise shoes off because it allows you to get a better grip of the floor and allows you a little bit more stability. Then standing on one leg, we're just going to balance and then we're going to lower ourselves down towards the box and back up, taking our bum to the seat. If you find that too easy, then you can do this exercise with a weight. I always like to hold it in front of us. That resting leg just hovers out in front of you, and then you sit down towards the box and bounce back up. For the purpose of this demo, so my leg doesn't fall off, I'm just going to put the weight down. And then if we take a look at this from a front-on view, what's really important with this exercise is we control this knee. So what you'll want to do if you're a little bit weak for your quads and your glutes is this knee is going to go in and your bum's going to go outwards. So it's really important we fix that and we keep our bum over our foot, and this knee, it doesn't actually have to stay straight, it can go out a little bit. So it's going to go out over our 4th and 5th toe. So that's where I always target it, just going on a little angle outwards, and as it goes out, your bum sits down into the middle. And if you imagine you're doing a squat, if your knees go out, you sit down into the gap in the middle. Final thing with this exercise is if you find it really hard, what you can do is you can kind of sit down and rest and then stand up. But if you want to make it more challenging, really control that down. Don't put any weight on the bench and then come back up. So I actually put quite a lot of weight on the bench here. This time I'm just going to go down, tap, and I'm straight back up. Okay? Really good exercise for our quads and our glutes. And with all lower body exercises, I like to make them unilateral or single leg variations because much of what we do in cricket, whether we're batting and we're stepping forward or we're bowling, we've normally got one foot in front of the other, so it's very single leg dominant. So in the gym, what we can do to help that is we can do exercises where we're working on one leg at a time. Now, what I also like to do in strength sessions is something called a superset, which is where you pair up 2 exercises together and you do them back to back. So if our first exercise is going to be a single leg squat, then we don't normally do, unless it's a power variation, we don't normally do 2 lower body exercises together. So we'll pair up a lower body and upper body lift. So our upper body lift in this case is going to be a single arm dumbbell press. So with a dumbbell, get into a kneeling position. If you've got your left foot forward, have the dumbbell in your right hand, and you're just going to bring it up to shoulder height. You're going to have your palm facing in towards your face, elbow pointing the floor. So we're not out here, elbows pointing the floor. I always like to put this left hand or resting hand on your core to make sure it's engaged, because we don't want to be leaning over like this. Then all we're going to do is we're going to push overhead and we're going to rotate our palm to face forward and control that back down. Push and rotate in there. Bring that elbow down to the floor each time. Once again, we could do this with both hands at the same time, but I really like in a strength session to be ticking off multiple body parts and you're focusing on multiple things at once. So with this variation, although we're focusing on our shoulder and our pushing strength, so our upper body strength, I'm also having to engage this side because it's a single leg variation. So actually this upper body exercise has also become a core exercise, which is really good for time efficiency. So that's the first superset. Now we're going to go into the second superset. Once again for this superset, we're going to select a lower body lift and an upper body lift. And since we did our quads with a single leg squat, we're now going to look at something to target our hamstrings. So the best movement pattern for your hamstrings is a hinge pattern where your hips go backwards. Now you could do this as a normal RDL, you could do a split stance. Today we're going to do a single leg RDL. So once again, we're going to go on one leg to make it really cricket specific, and then holding the weight in the opposite hand to your leg, you're going to balance on one leg and you're going to keep in this knee pretty locked. Take that leg back and your chest goes towards the floor, although that isn't what we're focused on. We're focused on these hips going backwards and kicking back and snapping through. Really good exercise for your knee stability, but you'll also get a lot of hamstring strength work. And once again, we're focused on resisting rotation through our upper body. So if your core isn't engaged, it's going to look something like that, and then you'll lose balance. So actually by switching on this core and making a single leg variation, we get the whole body working, although primarily we're focused on this front hamstring. Once again, you could do that with a heavier weight, or you could just do that body weight. If you do it body weight, what I like to do is just make it a bit more dynamic and start in an A drive position, come through, and then snap back up to the start. Now we're going to pair that up with another upper body exercise. And what we did in the first superset was we did a push exercise. So upper body exercises, you always say it's either a push exercise, horizontal push, vertical push, or you say it's a pull exercise, horizontal pull, vertical pull. So the exercise we're going to do, once again a single arm variation, is a single arm row. Really good exercise, not only for our muscles that help us pull our arms into us, which are our back muscles, but also really good exercise for our biceps. So all you're going to do, put one knee on the bench and then have this resting leg supporting you, and then holding the dumbbell outside of the bench. I like to always make a fist and put my hand into the bench there. Now in this position, what we basically want to be in is we want to have a flat back where our legs are level with each other, our hands are level with each other, and we're not going to be here, and we're not going to have a rounded posture in there. So nice and strong. Imagine if someone came and pushed you, you wouldn't be able to move because you're in a really strong, sturdy position. And just holding a weight, all you're going to do, tilt it to 45 degrees, throw it in towards your chest, control it down. Row, hold, control. What we're not going to do is we're not going to let the weight pull us down, and we're not going to yank it up in here. We're going to keep our back nice and level, get a nice contraction all around our shoulder as we go through that range of motion. Really good exercise that you can load nice and heavy and really get a good pump on for your arms and your back. And finally, we're just going to finish off with a bit of dedicated core work. So exercise number one, we're going to focus on our anterior core, so on our front side, and we're going to do a dead bug. If you haven't watched our core training for cricket tutorial, I'd definitely recommend that video. But in a dead bug, what we're going to do is we're going to have our knees over our hips, shins horizontal, toes pull to your shin, hands over your shoulders, and then if my right arm lowers, my left leg's going to extend, and this side are going to stay dead still. Bring it back into middle and then switch, and it's really important we keep our back pushed down into the floor and that resting leg and arm nice and still, and get a good contraction through our core. And then our second exercise in that superset is then going to be a side plank knee raise. So with your elbow under your shoulder, weight through your forearm, feet on top of each other, raise your hips to the sky, and then bring your knee up towards your hip without letting your hips drop or go backwards. So there you have it. There's a really simple strength session that you can do that's focusing on movements that are going to benefit your cricket game. And what I'd recommend for that session is you do between 2 to 5 sets of each exercise. Between each superset, you can have 60 to 90 seconds of rest, and I'd do 8 to 12 reps, somewhere in that ballpark for each exercise, each side. So if you're a cricketer who's stuck with what they should be doing in the gym, that's a really nice session to get you going. It's definitely not the only session you ever need to do, but as a starting point, that'll be a really nice point. If you do give this session a go, let me know in the comments below how you get on.